just took down Penn by the score of 88-68, completing non-conference play. Let's talk about it. This is our reaction show for Auburn versus Penn. Let's get into all the stats, news, and commentary from the game and your reactions right now. War Eagle Auburn family and War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching on the replay, whether you're watching here on home base of YouTube or on Facebook, Twitter, X/X, whatever it's called. However you got here, whenever you got here, we appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, spending some time being a part of our little family within the Auburn family. As is the case, we tend to get together here after Auburn men's basketball games to discuss what we saw, to react to it. And that is what we're going to do here. Before we do that, let me remind you, as always, to smash the like button if you can. It is a huge help for streams like these, helping people find us, join in on the conversation, and of course, grow our little family. So do that for us. And of course, check in with us right now in the chat. You can do all this if you're live as well, too. Just let us know where you're watching from, your city, your state, if you're international with a War Eagle. If we've got any Penn Quakers that want to pop in as well and say hello, you're always welcome here. Every once in a while, we get a rogue fan from another fan base. But the conversation, the interest here is strictly around Auburn basketball beating the Penn Quakers 88-68. Now, look, you may look at this one and dismiss it and already start asking the questions. What about Arkansas? What about Arkansas? I understand that's where the focus is going to shift now, but we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about this game and maybe the importance, yes, of it, but of non-conference play, because this is the end of non-conference play. Gone are the days, folks, where we had the Big 12 SEC Challenge to look forward to. Some people would say they didn't look forward to it just because it was odd to have it in conference play. But it used to be smack dab in the middle of conference play, right in the beginning of February, somewhere in there. Frankly, I used to look forward to that. Now, it is simply just the end of non-conference play now with the ACC SEC Challenge, the replacement happening earlier in non-conference play. Auburn had a pretty decent, more than decent non-conference performance overall, including this win over Penn. Only 2 losses, one very respectable loss to Baylor and a neutral site to start the season off. And then, some people will question that loss to App State a little bit, but I don't think it's as big a deal as some people make it out to be. But this Penn team, I think what you found out, a lot of people aren't aware of, that the Ivy League usually puts out a pretty good team or two. I don't know that Penn is the best representative of the Ivy League based on what I saw, but I know that they're not a pushover. You saw them quickly get back into a position to make something of a game of this. They just weren't able to compete with Auburn at their finest shooting tonight in their home court, which is understandable. So some initial opening thoughts there. Would love to know what you guys think tonight. We got David checking in, Thomas, WT, Devin, all checking in. Michael's also here. Good to see you. Thanks for checking in there. I'm sure so many of you are out there already checking in too. Let us know that you're here so that we can say hello to you as well. Big question now. Can we be a good away team this year? Obviously, that is a big question. It's one of the things that committees for the big dance look at, what your true road test was. Auburn's only true road test this year. Well, I'm trying to think back. Real road test at App State, they failed at. So that's not a good look to start with, but they can do a really good job of getting a solid win on all accounts. Looking forward to that Arkansas game, but you also have to perform well at home too, which they do year in and year out. WT knows exactly where I look in these games. Free throws, not a bad free throw percentage, not up to my standards. It's about 2 percentage points shy of that, but I'll understand. I will. Yes, and they did out-rebound. I think they out-rebounded us tonight, though. I'll look at the stats here in a little bit. So that's typically how these things go. We kind of go off what you guys like to discuss about this game and go from there. We'll then talk about some stats, individual-wise, and some team stats as well. Erica says they met me earlier this year. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you for the kind words, and thanks for coming up and saying hello. I always love talking to people whenever we get the opportunity to meet each other in person. That's great to hear. But yeah, so that's kind of what's on tap tonight for our reaction live stream here. So if you start looking at some stats here, if you look at the question of who is your player of the game, Janai Broom is far and away the statistical favorite for that. 24 points tonight for him, 9 for 10 from the field tonight. That's incredible. That's a great, great night for him. 3 for 4 from the 3-point arc. Incredible for him. Absolutely incredible. 3 for 4 from the free throw line. Pretty good. 12 rebounds for him, 2 assists, only 1 personal foul, and 2 turnovers. You know, what's been really interesting for me with Janai Broom this season, and I'm sure there will be some stats that don't back up what I'm saying here, but I'm going to tell you how it feels. I feel like he's had these great stat lines all year, and yet does it with very few turnovers and sharing the ball, you know, a good amount for what a big man should be sharing the ball. So I really, really, really value not just what he brings to the table in terms of points, again, a double-double tonight, but what he does in a holistic nature as part of the team. Thomas, glad to hear that you got the E2C Network shirt. I was about to send you a message and ask you if it came in yet. It took a little bit of time, didn't it? I guess the old holiday shipping took it a little bit longer to get to, but glad to hear that you got it there. So we got Janai Broom, 24 points. Your other leading scorers tonight, 4 in double digits in total. Denver Jones, Katie Johnson just slipped in there with 11 points. Chad Baker-Mazara with 16. I think if you were going to make a case for, player of the game type of stuff, obviously Janai Broom is right up there. And Chad Baker-Mazara is someone that I don't think that you need to dismiss out of hand either, because of the way he plays coming off the bench. To me, that almost puts you, if you put up the numbers that you're putting up coming off the bench, I'm sorry, my nose is really itching for some reason right now. If you put up the numbers that he puts up a lot coming off the bench, that almost kind of pushes you forward in the conversation of a player of the game, because that's the sixth man position, meaning that you're first off of the bench. You're trusted. KD's played that a lot before. He comes off very quickly too, but I would call the true sixth man being Chad Baker-Mazara, and produce the way he does. It's an honor position, but he's making the most of it as well. So 16 points for him, 5 for 10 from the field, 5 for 6 from the free throw line, 1 for 3 from the 3-point arc, 1 rebound tonight. So pretty good stat line for him. Denver Jones tonight, I thought, played more loud than I have recalled him doing recently. I think he came on pretty hot at the beginning of the season and cooled off a little bit. He was producing, but not as much as maybe we expected him to. Today, I saw him shoot the 3-ball well. Today, I saw him do a really good job of dribbling in and then taking a long 2. I really liked what I saw out of Denver Jones today. I liked what I saw out of a lot of different people today. And that's what's great about this team performing so well right now, is that it's hard to sit there and say, this is the guy that stood out the most tonight. You can point to Janai and say, yes, 24 points, that stands out, double, but everybody is having those moments tonight. CBM sparked us in the second half. I meant to tweet this out either from my personal account or the E2C Network account, that the big question is, will Auburn come out flat in the second half? And the question was answered with not a yes, but a kinda. It's one of the big things that have happened with a Bruce Pearl team. For whatever reason, they come out a little bit flat, or they don't maybe respond as well or quickly as they need to out of the second half. And you can see what happens when a team like Penn, who has the ability to score and is coached well, they can work themselves back into a situation. I think it was a 20-point lead that got down to about a 9-point lead. Beyond that point, it never really got into danger. But you don't want to have that happen against teams that are a lot better than Penn. Penn coming into the game 8-6. You really want to make sure that you put people away when you have the opportunity to, especially at home like that. Don't just, be loosey-goosey with everything and let them walk back in on you in the middle of home court. Michael Floyd, still things to work on, he says, like starting the second half with intensity. There you go. Just what we were talking about. You were already on it. That's one of my big things. It's going to be very important for Auburn next week and SEC play in general, especially on the road, to not come out flat or flatter than they were in the first half when playing in conference play. You can do that at home and get away with it. You can do that at home in non-conference play against teams like Penn sometimes, but you can't do that overall. All right, your rest of the scores tonight. And again, if you guys have something that you'd like to bring up about the game, please do. Aiden Holloway, only 3 points for him tonight. Jalen Williams got real hot, but then quieted off in terms of statistical production. 8 points for him tonight. Chris Moore with 2. We talked about, there's Trey Donaldson with 6. And then everybody else, other than Dylan Cardwell, who got 6, did not score. The bench warmers, as we were called, as I was called playing, they got in as well. That's happened a lot this season. And I think that goes to show you how well this team is performing at such a high level, even in some challenging non-conference situations. So non-conference play is done, in the books. Exciting to end that in the 13th game, which would be 11-2 in non-conference play. I think all things considered, if you walk away 11-2 from that schedule, you're pretty satisfied. You're not, you left some stuff on the table that was possible, but 11-2, given that you played USC, that you played Indiana, that you played Baylor, that you went to App State, a couple of others, Virginia Tech, you could have gotten out there with more losses, and yet you had a pretty good non-conference performance. So we went through all the individual stats. Let's look at team stats tonight. You all first know where we're going to focus, not just the points and how we shot the ball, but how we shot the ball from the free throw line. WT brought it up a little earlier. 78%, 14 for 18 from the field. My mark is always 80%, so just below that, but I'm not going to complain too much about that. Really took care of the ball tonight. 13 turnovers for Penn, 6 for Auburn. That's a 7-point or 7, differential there in turnovers. Pretty significant margin, especially when you're playing at home. Hard for a team in general to win in Neville Arena, much less having that big of a differential in the turnover margin. And then rebounds, we did not get out rebounded. 35-37. Penn almost does that. Now, in the second half, and maybe you attribute this a little bit to the frustrating second half, they took advantage of a lot of second chance opportunities, getting offensive rebounds, and really found a way to get that 20-point lead back down into single digits for a short amount of time. But in all the important categories that I say usually determines who wins the game, free throws, turnovers, rebounds, Auburn wins them all tonight, thus the 20-point win, in my opinion. And that really sets the tone for the rest of the game. Now, how'd they do otherwise? 49% from the field shooting for Auburn. Essentially 1 out of every 2. If you do that, you're going to have a usually pretty successful night. 34% from the 3-point arc. Went a little bit cold in the second half, and thus it could have been a lot better for them. What else tonight? Let me see. I stress the turnovers, the rebounds, the free throw percentage, but I always try to look for that other statistic that tells the tale of the game. So if you look at second chance points, that's pretty even. Bench points, 16 for 39. That's Auburn with 36 bench points, 39 bench points, 16 for Penn. That's a pretty significant margin right there. And it just goes to show you what the common theme has been throughout the season. And that is Auburn is a deep, deep, deep basketball team. I mean, Chad Baker-Mazara off the bench tonight is your second leading scorer. Katie Johnson and Katie Johnson is the other, the fourth leading scorer tonight. So 2 of the leading scorers were starters, 2 were off the bench. It's incredible. WT says, I feel with this team, I would be disappointed with anything other than a Sweet 16 appearance. I think we can go further. That's the floor. I think that's a very fair statement. I think anything below a Sweet 16 appearance, based on what we know on the team at this moment after the Penn game, is a humongous disappointment. Second half was mid, Gracie says, and first half was fantastic. Unfortunately, I think that's going to be a theme all year for Auburn, or it's been a lot since Bruce Pearl has been here. And it's not that Bruce Pearl's doing anything wrong or anything like that. He's the coach. I'm not. He makes the decisions on all these things. But for whatever reason, that seems to be a common trend. Can't happen on the road, though. Cannot come out flat on the road. At home, you can do that. So kind of back to what we were talking about a second ago, that other stat that told the tale of the game, the big differential in bench points tonight. Everything else is pretty negligible. You could say that assists were pretty well in Auburn's favor, 11 for Penn, 19 for Auburn. They brought up a stat on the screen, too, in the broadcast of comparing Auburn's assists, was it assist percentage or something like that, and how it's, where they ranked in assists and stuff like that. If you looked at the Final Four team, it was not one of the worst, very mid, like about as bad mid as you could be, but still somehow we're a great Final Four team. This team is currently ranked, I think it was 11th in assist, which is a really good sign. It goes back to what I've told you a lot over the several reaction streams. The reason I'm comfortable calling this team a great team is because of things like that, because of how they share the ball with each other, how there's not a lot of selfishness on this team. There's guys like Jalen Williams who pass up on shots that they probably should take because it's not the best possible look, and maybe my teammate can get another one. And then they're passing it back to him and saying, no, but like you got to take that. Like you're the hot hand right now. There's just a lot of sharing, a lot of playing for and within each other. Like it's really good. I've got static coming from the mic. That's not good. Thank you for letting me know. I don't know what. Let me see if anything. Let me know if it gets better or worse. I'm going to back up a little bit. Maybe it's me. The other thing, too, is we're broadcasting through a different format than we typically do. So keep me updated if it keeps posting how bad it gets or not. I'll go back and listen to the replay, too. I have noticed that Bruce Pearl has to kick some of the starters in the pants, so to speak, by benching them a few minutes for playing without energy. I guess you could probably find a case for that. I didn't honestly look for that a lot tonight, but there's been a little bit of lackadaisicalness at time coming out of the second half, and maybe even if it's not a starter. Bruce Pearl is not one to shy away from discipline issues. I saw him, and it's funny you brought this up. My mother-in-law was watching a game with us, and at the end of the game, well in hand, the walk-ons were in. This walk-on did something, I guess, horribly wrong, because Bruce just went after him, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I mean, we turned it back over, tried to figure out exactly. I thought maybe he was shot it when he was not supposed to shoot it or something. I couldn't figure out what it was. I really think it's just Bruce cares that much about his team from every aspect, the starter down to the bench warmer, and wants them to do the best that they can within the role that they've been given. Gracie thinks that we finished top 4 in SEC in basketball, but women's needs to finish in the top 6 to make the NCAA tournament. Interesting perspective. I think Auburn safely finds themselves in the top 4 of the SEC most years now, and that wouldn't be much of a stretch here either. That is interesting, guys. I am so sorry. I do not know what's going on with the static tonight. If it's been something that's been happening of late, let me know. Can't figure out what it is or why it is, because there's nothing really new or different that's going on. So apologize for the static, and we'll try to get that worked on. Can't really figure out what it might be either, looking at everything, every little bit of connections on here. WT says it did not affect the game, but it was disappointing that the refs messed up the foul and technical foul situation. We should have taken the ball at half court and not at full court. Yeah, isn't it? Here's a funny thing. Even I'm going to use this to kind of talk about something. I feel like this season, so far, we have complained far less about the refs. I'm struggling to think of a game where we really harped on it, where we really got mad about this, or not even got mad about it tonight, but have really, maybe because we're so used to Auburn beating teams right now that we're having to notice other things. But yeah, maybe that changes in SEC play. Probably will. Let's see here. First night you notice the stat. The stat seems to get worse the closer you are to the mic. How about now? Maybe that's better. We'll try that. I'll back up a little bit. Get off the mic. Don't eat the mic, Kyle. The Baylor game was a little ridiculous with the foul calls. You know, that was so long ago, and so much was going on in my life at that time that I can hardly remember, honestly, that game, other than I was so frustrated with the free throw situation. So maybe now that's coming back to me a little bit because there were so many free throw shots because the fouls were getting so ridiculous. But that's it, right? That's really what we've, remember in terms of how bad the refs have been or not been. So there's that. All right, we have walked through storylines. We have walked through individual stats, team stats. Not going away just yet, but want to know what else from this game you want to talk about. Players you want to point out, moments that you want to talk. Like, what was your favorite moment from this game? Put that in the chat right now. Would love to hear from you on that. Let me give you some reminders on what's coming up here for E2C Network over the next several days. What are the scheduled live streams? Tomorrow night, don't miss it. The Auburn Family Night is back. We are having our call-in show where we can talk about anything and everything, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Come hang out with us, the show where your voice matters the most. This Saturday, immediately after the Arkansas game, as quickly as we can, we will do a reaction show for what will be a huge SEC matchup. Don't miss it. And this Sunday, the Auburn Experience with Austin and myself is back. Episode 61 live, recording this Sunday at 9 Eastern time. Do not miss out on that. And, of course, we'll get back around to another basketball reaction show midweek next week, and we'll continue the pattern all again. So that's the stuff that you need to keep in mind. And, of course, smash the like button if you haven't. Something we haven't really talked about, Auburn was ranked finally this week and got to play ranked as well and showed out. Why did it take us so long to get ranked? And I don't see Bama making the tournament. They haven't beaten a good team, in your opinion. I haven't watched them, frankly. I don't know why you would, but I think sometimes we focus too much on the rankings and just kind of let things take care of themselves. To me, if you play well, you're going to make it into the tournament, and whether you're ranked or not. And yeah, sure, that helps in terms of where you get ranked and stuff like that. But to me, rankings are just a perception game at this point. It's nice to be there. It's nice that we've done it for the last 7 or 8 years in a row that we've been ranked at some point, at least in the AP. So that's that's an accomplishment. Why it took so long? I think the App State win made people a little bit lost, made people a little bit more skeptical. And it's understandable. Auburn hasn't shown that it can win on the road. Now, they can shut that narrative down by winning on Saturday at Bud Walton against Arkansas. If you want to not make that a problem going forward, beat Arkansas and Bud Walton. My favorite moments were Jalen Williams hitting the threes. At one point, he was like, over the last 2 games, 10 for 10 or something like that in just shots alone. Jalen Williams, folks. Jalen Williams. He just does Jalen Williams things. He is quickly becoming my favorite player of all time at Auburn. He's definitely my favorite on this team. But, yeah. The Arkansas game will be tough, especially since they are still upset about what happened in football. Well, they got to find reasons to get excited about things. So who knows? They might storm the court again for beating an Auburn team because it'll be their Super Bowl. That being said, folks, I think we have covered all the different angles we need to for Auburn versus Penn. They win, finishing out non-conference play, 88-68. It was fun talking with you about the stats, the storylines, and everything in between. I appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, and thank you for dealing with the technical difficulties. Smash the like button on the way out. Check out the link descriptions here on YouTube for ways to help support us. And, of course, thank you for being part of our little family within the Auburn family, and I appreciate you guys so much. Till we talk to you again, War Eagle.